Hockey, yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
Judd's Hockey Show playoff preview calls for us to be at full strength. And I mean, AJ and I are great and all, but the brains of this show is Jessi Pierce. And she is kind enough to add to her schedule and do another episode because we got Wild Vegas Golden Knights starting on Sunday, playoff preview. Jessi is here. A lot to get to, but before we get to all of that good stuff, I want to talk to you actually about my friends at Neos Elite Performance. If you're active or trying to get an edge on your life, the experts at Neos can help you. Chronic pain slowing you down? Neos Elite's cutting-edge regenerative medicine and cellular IV therapies designed to get you going again without invasive procedures. This is white glove service delivered to your home. No trips to the doctors, no trips to the hospital, not the hospital. The team at Neos will come to you. So if back or knee pain is making everyday tasks feel impossible, stop the suffering now. Neos' therapy is designed to reduce pain, restore function, and get you back to doing what you love. No surgery, no downtime, only results. Schedule now at neoselite.com. Neos Elite.com. If nothing else, go to the site. If you have any pain, the site will guide you through. This is cutting edge stuff. Neos Elite Performance. Hospital.
Yeah, tomato.
I missed the P and I got the B somehow. I don't know. It's early. All right, so let's get right to it. Wild and Golden Knights. Golden Knights are a Stanley Cup favorite. Golden Knights are heavily favored to win. So let's just start here. Rip off the Band-Aid with you, Jessi. What is your expectation? Because I am seeing the Wild. The Wild is at full strength. They got everybody back. I'll say I'm curious about degrees of health, but what do you think?
I do think it could go to 7. I think on paper, in a lot of areas, the teams match up similar. The big concern is stopping Jack Eichel, who was on an absolute another level this year that has yet to be seen, which is pretty incredible. And then figuring out a way to penetrate their big, heavy defense. Vegas has big bodies back there. Those are some very heavy defenders that Minnesota, a team that's already struggling or has been struggling to find ways to score, is really going to have their work cut out for them there. But otherwise, in a lot of areas, I think they match up as long as you're smart about penalties, because Vegas has been very good on the power play. They're very good at not taking penalties themselves. In fact, the least penalized team in the league after the regular season this year. But they don't have great goaltending. Aiden Hill's fine, right? He's got a cup, but I'm not super worried about him, but it's the defense, more or less. Defense and Jack Eichel. But again, that being said, I could see you going to 7. There's a lot of confidence. John Hines was cautious not to call it momentum after the way that they got into the playoffs in game 82 in 2 games that probably didn't have any business going into overtime, but they did. There's a lot of confidence in that room. Again, full health, and Philip Gustafson, excuse me. Now I'm all worried.
I started and I'd like to apologize. This is all my fault.
Goodness gracious.
This is all my fault. Blame me.
Philip Gustafson, that's going to be your backbone again in the playoffs. But I see going to 7. I think the Wild could possibly do it. If you come out of Vegas with a split, that doesn't look too shabby to me either.
Mm-hmm. Age, what do you think?
Judd, the other night after the win, the OT win, the thriller, I think during our show I said I might be tough to extend this series past 5 games in favor of Vegas still. After looking at it a little bit more, and frankly, some of the points that I was going to bring up here, Jessi just said very eloquently, but it's a little more even on paper than I expected it to be. In the biggest category that I think the Wild have a major advantages is goaltending. Phil Gustafson, this is a guy like a calendar year ago, I think you and myself, not Jessi by anything, because she never likes to trade people away, but we were very much anti-Gustafson. We were like, we got to get him off the roster somehow. He's been a godsend for this team this year, and for a lot of the times when they were missing their 1A, 1B juggernaut guys, he was keeping them in games. He was putting them in positions to win and just pick up points. On the other side of that, though, for Vegas, Samsonov has played 29 games. Aiden Hill's been their main guy, 50-game starter, 906 save percentage. That's not good for a guy who it feels almost like a Darcy Kemper situation with Colorado a couple of years ago. And granted, they won the cup that year, so I might just be talking into the wind here, but that doesn't seem like a great recipe for success, and that could come back to bite you. Could that be a scrappy Minnesota Wild team takes advantage with a couple lucky bounces? A team that has been not lucky all season long finally has some luck swing their way. And when you look at it, when some of the trade deadline stuff, acquiring a Brazo, some of the comments made late in the season about Yakov Trenin, like we signed him here to be a playoff guy. And granted, I don't know whether that'll come true or not, but you have those big bodies now. And I think that's been the past couple of years, the Wild have been in the playoffs. The main criticism that I've had along with others is like they just get out physicaled. They get out bullied in these series. Like when it comes down to it, they can hang 2 games, 3 games, but then like game 4, 5, 6, it's like they're just outmatched. Like they're getting pummeled. That fourth line right now, you can say probably goes out there and pummels back a little bit. Will that be a major difference breaker? Probably not. Like they're probably not going to go out there and change the course of this series, but I think it'll probably swing a little bit. And you have to look at the special teams. Like the penalty kill has improved over the grandstanding things of the season. It's been absolutely awful, but they've made slight improvements over the past month to where is it trajecting up? I still think at the end of the day, Vegas will take this series, but I don't think it'll be a quick 4 or 5 games like I expected. I say Vegas in 6.
I think that's about right. There's a lot of things to unpack here. One is Jesse's point about the Golden Knights defense, I think is the key here, because this is a lot. This reminds me a lot of the Vikings at the end of the season against the Lions and the Rams, right? And your defensive and offensive lines, which at that point have to kick people's asses, were sort of worn down. And they certainly weren't as good, and they got just absolutely pummeled. And these, to your point, Jess, the Golden Knights defensemen are going to pummel these guys. Now, my problem is too, though, and I'm getting really tired of hearing, well, for the first time since November, the Wild is fielding their full team and blah. Kirill Kaprizov, no one's talking about this. He is the best player in this series when he has played, like when he's healthy. Eichel's second best, but Eichel going in is clearly the best. Like Kirill's not Kirill. So, like, we're talking about him like he's still Kirill Kaprizov. Well, that might take another 5 months, which is, not blaming him. I'm just saying, but yeah, the defense thing gets me. The special teams thing really, Jesse, concerns me because the Golden Knights, the Golden Knights are second in the entire league on the power play, 28.3%. The Jets are first, 28.9%. The Wild is 20th at 20.9%. The penalty kill, Vegas is 26th. That's good. Like, that's the good news. But as Jesse pointed out, the other problem is the Golden Knights are the first team in the 82-game era to take fewer than 200 penalties in a season. They don't take penalties. And then, okay, so what do you do? And Age, you're right. The power play, or the penalty kill has improved. But what are you going to do against the Golden Knights? At the end of the day, the Wild is still 30th in penalty kill. So this is the one to me where if you're the Wild and you don't stay out of the box, I think you're screwed. Like that, like the difference is there. Unless you've got something you're going to unleash here PK wise, the Golden Knights. And the other thing too is the Golden Knights have had guys banged up, but like there's no Mark Stone LTIR. Oh my goodness, it's a miracle he's back. He's been playing. The guys have been playing. So I think it's a stretch to say the Wild is healthy. They've got their people back, but I don't know that they're healthy. But I would say if you put it all together, Golden Knights in 6 is probably, I'm with AJ, Jesse. That's probably where I land.
That's fair. I just want 7 games. I would like as many games at home as I possibly could get.
Everyone's all about making the extra buck.
Making the extra buck.
Yeah. You're like the TV guys. I see the TV guys. After losses, they're despondent. I'm like, man, they really care. And then I'm like, oh, no, they don't. They get paid for it. Every single playoff game. That's why. I saw Gorgie one time, and he was so down. I'm like, Gorgie, it's okay. He snapped back. It's not okay. They're going to lose games. They're not going to get it. They're not going to get in the playoffs.
Are you guys factoring in the Wild's away record at all into this playoff series? Because
it's not
that has to go on the road. No, it's not.
Yeah.
But it feels like they just, for some reason, whatever weird routine thing, they just have a little more of a jump when they are on the road. So being the team that goes on the road first. Like maybe that's where I'm thinking why it is probably 6 games and not 4 or 5 is because they probably steal one in either like a game 2 or a game 5.
Yeah. Well,
and they did that the last time these two matched up, right? In 2021, Ewell Eriksson Ek,
Dallas
overtime.
Too, right?
I can't remember.
Didn't they win game 1 against Dallas a couple of years ago?
Possibly.
Gus stood on his
head. It was yes, I was there. I was there. My buddy's bachelor party was in Vegas.
Oh wow.
So on a whim, me and my buddy Joe went to the game and it was a shutout. It was hilarious because we were like, "Oh, this is going to be a goal fest. Let's take the over. Let's whatever at Caesars." And so we bet all this money and then it was a 0-0 shutout going into overtime and then we were screaming our lungs out at these dejected Vegas fans. That was when Fleury was actually on the night still.
Fleury. Yeah. So fun little story we got from Fleury yesterday, or I got. So there used to be a big picture of that goal that X scored against Fleury, and you could see the puck in the net, and it was blown up in the locker room because they have all these different moments, right, from history. And so when Fleury came in, he looked at that and he covered up the puck with tape because he's like, I didn't want to see that every single time I walked in here. It was one of the first pranks he really ever pulled on them. But he's like, I remember that. He's like, but I also remember making some glove saves on Ryan Hartman because Hartsey still reminds me that I ended it. You know, I mean, Fleury was tremendous in that series. He was the reason that it was vintage Marc-Andre Fleury in game 7 in particular, where Vegas really that was the one game where Vegas took hold, but it took them until 7 games to find that. And Vegas has always been built similar to those teams, right? I feel like Vegas has been the most consistent squad throughout the regular season in the West in particular, right? They're first in the Pacific. They've gotten the best of Minnesota in all 3 meetings this year during the regular season. But that December game, 3-2, was close. Even that 4-1 game in January wasn't terrible. And then March 25th, a 5-1 kind of drubbing wasn't great. But I think I like 7 not only for my selfish reasons. I could see you get a 1-2 punch in Vegas. It could be a really fun series.
I could see them getting off to a good start. The problem is, I think as the series progresses, that's where I could see them being worn down by that size. And also they're going to have guys who are going to get tired. Like you've got guys coming back. Let's get to some key talking points. Line heathens, defensive pairings from Jessi Pierce's tweets yesterday from practice. Is it Zeev time? Because it looks like from what you were tweeting and informing us about, Buium was on the 3rd defensive pairing with Bogosian, and probably just as importantly,
more importantly,
exactly, top power play.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. But again, we get a coy John Hines who doesn't want to tell us, took away $175 from me yesterday because he wouldn't confirm that Zeev was going to officially play in game 1. So thanks for that, John.
175?
Wait, hold on. I need the financial breakdown. Like
financial breakdown. I get to write a separate story if he had confirmed that Zeev, but because it's that Zeev could play, that story now gets given to the Vegas correspondent who will get the confirmation.
Is it unprofessional of you to bring that up and be like, hey, John, you got to realize what's at stake here.
You got to let me know. And, shout out to Zeev, who also played the game well. He's like, well, yeah, if I get in, and I was like, and God bless one of my editors at the desk, he was like, basically they're saying he's in. There's no way that he's not going to play this. And they're like, well, and then the other counter editor who's above him was like, nope, it's not. And I was like, just wasted all these questions.
$175 out the window for nothing.
Out the window. But I mean, that all being said, I'm very confident. Yes, you could say, technically we were just getting a look. Technically we were just seeing how this looks. To put him on the top power play says a ton. And joking with Kirill Kaprizov afterward too, he said, all I've seen from this kid is offensive upside. I haven't seen him play defense. I've seen him play, more offensive on the puck, which the Wild need, especially going into that game 1. I think him with Zach Bogosian makes some sense, right? You've got Bogo, who can be the stay-at-home defenseman, the veteran, the guy, the big body there. I just don't think you try him out in that practice without having very real consideration, very real conversation. I mean, Zeev has played in big moment games. We talked about that with John Hines prior to the end of the regular season. He knows what it takes. He's used to coming into locker rooms with new teammates and new systems and all of that. And they got that practice. They're going to get another practice in Vegas as well. The team leaves today for Vegas, and then they will practice Saturday before that game 1 on Sunday. So I don't see why not. Again, especially with that offensive upside, and Minnesota's going to need all the help they can get with players that want to find the back of the net. And Zeev is a guy that can do that.
And he can run he can run the power play as a defenseman, which they don't have right now. Or
Yep.
like they've been playing five forwards, which scares me because that opens up the opportunity for the Golden Knights to try to create offense shorthanded. And I believe the Golden Knights, I was right, I wrote this down here. They have 6 shorties, so they can score with down a man, I should say. So,
And to be fair, we did ask John Hines about if he was going to roll 5 forwards at any point during the course of this, and it didn't sound like he was going to that, knowing what Vegas is capable of. And he said, the way that they pressure and needing to have that defensive responsibility, it doesn't sound like that's something that they will carry into the playoffs, at least in this series against Vegas.
Yes. Now, I would like to turn to AJ for an astute point he brought up. We talked about this. I think, Jessi, it was on a show that we unfortunately didn't have you on. And AJ talked about this, the Bogosian Buium potential pairing. Okay, Age?
Yeah.
As you said at the time, if this is what they're going to do, they need to sit Bogosian down and tell him, we don't need any shots from you. We don't need any shots. Because you're right. He misses the net a lot, rings the boards. And now you've got a breakout. And it could be against Zeve, which you do not necessarily want.
Yeah, and this is where I would like to think Zach Bogosian will have no problem being the veteran that he is, being a guy that goes back to like Atlanta Thrasher days. He should understand, okay, I have a rookie 19-year-old kid who his whole shtick is offensive output. Not that he can't play defense, but like if he's in the lineup, it's because of what he brings offensively. So I need Zach Bogosian to realize, okay, we can't be just letting it fly. Like what's the whatever basketball movie where it's just like chucking it up from way deep. We're just throwing up shots. We can't be doing that because you're going to miss the net. You're going to turn the puck over. And if one of those guys with you, if it's John Merrill, he might not commit offensively as much and get deep into the zone.
Right.
Zeev Buium might be doing that now because that's just what instinctually he's going to do. That's going to create even more defensive breakdowns. And then the other way, it's going to be a 2-on-1 rush that like Matt Zuccarello is going to have to bust his butt to get back and try to, set up shop in the defensive zone. You're going to have to limit and play a little more conservative because Zeve is the offense now on that pairing. Not that if the puck comes to Zach Bogosian at the point and he wants to let one fly because the shooting lane is open, I'm not going to stop. God forbid I do because it's just inevitable. But he's going to have to limit it a little bit. And Zach Bogosian's going to have to turn his defensive hat on, I think, a smidge more than what he's been doing with John Merrill up to this point.
Jessi, who do you think, when it comes to Eichel, are we going to see, and it makes some sense from both how both coaches deploy their lines, are we going to see the Eichel line against Eriksson and Boldy and Kaprizov?
I would imagine so, as best you can. Again, right, depending on who gets the final say in the matchups based on where the series is at and location. But
sure,
I think so. I think that's your best matchup, and that's fun. I mean, that's a battle. That is going to be very good. Now, that's the other thing. Vegas is a very well-balanced team. Thomas Hertl's been playing really well, too. I mean, it's not just Jack Eichel, but Jack Eichel's 94 points certainly speak enough for themselves, and Thomas Hertl's been hurt, but he's had a really nice season. I think he's third on the team in scoring, too. So there are other centers to be concerned, but Eichel versus Ek seems like a pretty likely story there. And again, between the size and the skill, those are two lines that are going to give it their all, and they'll be very fun to watch.
So can I give you a thought on the lines then as well? So I could see a scenario in which you want to get Kaprizov away from that matchup. Mm-hmm. It's my humble opinion that the one thing I don't like about the lines right now, and I understand why they're doing it, okay? But I think if the Wild is to have a real chance to win this series, Marco Rossi's going to have to play a role. And it's not going to come playing between Gus Nyquist and Foligno, who, by the way, has had a great year. So this is Ghost has been bad, but Foligno has been very good. But nonetheless, I don't know that the skill set of that line is the best. Do you guys agree with me that there could be a possibility, because you're going to have to create offense from more than one line, and the second line sort of can, but it's still sort of pedestrian in some ways, that you might go Zuccarello, Rossi, Kaprizov on one line, Boldy with Ek, and then take your pick. I mean, Johansson was phenomenal. He might have a great rest of the season because of his contract and the fact that he actually cares. But that would be my one nit with the Lions currently is I don't see you winning this series playing Marco Rossi in sort of a third line grinder role for 6 or in your world, just 7 games.
But that's also up to Marco Rossi, right? His game has waned a little bit, and
True.
even John Hines was actually fairly critical of him yesterday when we asked about the impact that Marco Rossi needs to have. And for me, Marco Rossi is a key to success for this team. If he finds that level of his game that we've seen him capable of, I think that's going to be huge for the Wild because that opens up that secondary scoring and it opens up that talent. But he needs to refine his speed and he needs to kind of refine that competitive drive. That FU that Billy loves to claim Marco Rossi has, and he has had, has kind of been absent. There needs to be more determination in going for the pucks and getting those second and third efforts. We haven't seen Marco go in and do that. And again, that's going to be imperative against this Vegas defense is to go after those second and third opportunities. And Marco just, for whatever reason, hasn't necessarily been able to get over the puck. So I think if Marco can show he's ready and willing to be that type of player, then yes, you will see him re-elevate. Because I love Freddie Gaudreau and the hard work ethic that he brings night in and night out. But Marco Rossi is above him in every other respect of a hockey player, I think, in terms of skill and where he should be in the lineup. So I think if Marco goes in a game one and shows that he is going to be that speedy player, that elusive player, that puck battling guy that he has shown he can be, then certainly you're going to see those lines jumbled.
Mm-hmm.
Do you two feel like this could be a series that sort of determines the longevity that Marco Rossi has in Minnesota Wild sweater? Like if he comes out and is just a superstar and he plays in a playoff setting that, you know, he can't be looked at as like this younger, smaller guy that isn't built for playoff hockey and whatever. But if he comes out as just a superstar, points in at least like 3 of the 5 to 6 games, you know, contributes, wins some faceoffs, and faceoffs is something I do want to bring up at some point here because it's a massive disadvantage for the Wild. Do you think that this is something that maybe, given all the speculation and Jessi just notoriously being right about things, could be like a turning point for his Minnesota Wild career?
I mean, to the benefit of Marco, you're going against one team consistently, right? So I think that helps a lot of players in the sense where you can figure out you can commit to kind of focusing on those certain things against this one opponent, right? So you're going to be able to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, this didn't work against this line. What can we do? So, I mean, to that benefit, yes, but absolutely. I think you have felt it kind of overhanging all season long, right? We've had the conversation, but then to see Marco get demoted, frankly, to that third line, is even more writing on the wall as to, you know what, Minnesota's kind of pulling themselves back a little bit more. They're kind of seeing this. But if he comes out and has a tremendous series, I don't know that it's necessarily his saving grace to remain in a Minnesota Wild jersey. But if anything, it ups that value again that I've been mentioning. And I think it'll maybe leave him on a better note in general, not just here with the organization, but for himself as he moves forward in his career, whatever that looks like.
I think the Wild has no chance to win this series unless he does play really, really well. I don't think they have a chance. Gaudreau, yeah, he has had a great season for Freddie Gaudreau in his role. Like he was, I think a year ago banged up, but very disappointing. This year he's come back. He's played great, but he is a third line guy. And if he is you're playing the Golden Knights, and like the quality depth here is insane. Fourth line pretty good. That's a problem because your fourth line ain't pretty good. So yeah, I think if Rossi doesn't elevate quickly, now the problem is the decision on what the Wild consider elevation is going to have to be based on his work because I don't know you're going to get a lot of points. I mean, Nyquist he's done a nice job on the PK, I think, but beyond that, he gives you nothing. Like, that's a terrible trade now for a second-round pick. And Foligno, I could see if you could do this right, I could see if you could get Gaudreau, Foligno, and pick the best forward, I could see trying to put that line on the Eichel line at the X. Because Jessi, I'm with you. I think the Eriksson Eichel line going against each other from a fan standpoint, fun to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm John Hines if I want that though, because like I need that line to create offense. And yes, they can create some offense in transition from playing against a really good line, but I think I might want them against a different line.
Mm-hmm.
But like the Rossi thing to me right now stands out as like a sore thumb of, okay, I know what you're trying to do here, despite the fact you've cut a lot of slack for certain unnamed people yourself. I know what you're trying to do here, but I don't think you win the series doing this. So I think if you could get that right, because if you move Rossi and Goudreau, if you flip them, in my opinion, the lines make a lot more sense, and I could see a world where the matchups then can change. And of course, from perhaps the most important thing, matchup standpoint wise, my guess is whenever Eichel's on the ice, Brodin and Faber are going to be there too.
Yep, that would be my bet as well as far as the D matchups. But I think the reason, to your point, Judd, and I think your opinion is fairly accurate there. Marco Rossi can give you the time and space that disappears. You're welcome. Right? It feels
Fairly.
good, doesn't it? Doesn't that feel nice?
Well,
Fairly.
no, but it was with the caveat of
participation,
fairly accurate. Fairly.
It was a wrong point of view,
It's
but-
okay.
It was good. It was good, Judd. It was great. But Marco Rossi,
Take it.
in the playoffs, right, we all know time and space disappears. There's no ice out there. That's
Amen.
the way the game goes. Marco Rossi can help create that if he is playing the correct way, if he is playing his game right. He's got a better chance of separating himself than Freddie Goudreau does. And that's just point blank, bar none, right? Like, I think there's no question about it. So, again, it's up to Marco to get that grit first. Play hard, choose your hard, Marco, if you will. And
Our eyes, all the
let's
cliches.
all the cliches, all of those things. You know, I called that thing a necklace, and one of the guys was like, "It's a chain," and I
It's
was
a
like,
hide chain.
"Whatever." Looks
That's
like
awesome you call it a necklace.
It's a
I'm glad you
necklace.
did that.
You see, they were selling that at the Hockey Lodge for that
They
last
did.
game.
The chain?
Yeah, they
The
had
hard
like
chain.
replica hard chains.
Yeah,
With
I think
what's
Judd
the,
needs one. Frankly,
what's the it's not wood, right?
I think it was all like
Probably
a plastic
plastic.
chain link.
Because I
with,
mean,
like,
if you get drunk at a game and you get mad at a fan, you can just take that sucker, bang.
I mean, you could buy a hockey stick though at the game, like a little even wooden
and that, like,
hard stick.
yeah, but that chain, but that hard chain, the wood there, that looks like it would knock you flat out, right?
Yeah,
I
It's
think
just like
you'd
a
be
2x4.
knocked out. Face-offs.
Face-offs is
Go.
going to be if you are expecting the Minnesota Wild to win any meaningful face-offs in this series, stop it right now.
wow.
Let me run through a couple numbers here for you.
Okay.
William Karlsson, of all eligible forwards, taking 500 more face-off this season. Keep in mind, some people have like 1,100. I'm dropping it down to 500 here.
Okay.
He is 8th best in the league with 58.1% in the face-off dot. Claude Giroux, pardon me, leads the
Ottawa.
league with 60.8%. He has been phenomenal in the dot. 58.1 for William Karlsson. Thomas Hertl, who's taken 950 with face-offs, 55.9%. Brett Howden, who's taken about 500, 52.7%. Cole Schwint, he's taken about 200. He comes in for the wing when somebody gets tossed. He's 50.5%. You have all these guys, and the main center for the Vegas Golden Knights, Jack Eichel, who has taken like 1,100. Granted, he's taking them against higher leverage players, more skilled players. He's sitting at like a Minnesota Wild respectable 45.6%. So you have 4 guys there that I just rattled off that are going to be on the ice consistently who are 50% or higher and very good in the face-off dot. Minnesota
Now do
Wild.
Minnesota. Now do it. Do it.
Devin Shore currently leads the team in face-off percentage, and he's taken 103 only with 49.5%. Freddie Goudreau is otherwise the best face-off taker for the Wild, just under 1,100, 48.2%. Brendan Gaunce, 48.1.
Well,
Ryan Hartman, 47.8. Joel Eriksson has had 47.1. Marco Rossi, 46.8. They don't win face-offs. This is going to be abysmal series in the face-off dot for the Minnesota Wild. So as soon as they go to we already talked about special teams, but as soon as they go to the penalty kill, somebody's going to take a dumb tripping call, or they're going to have to because of the defensive breakdowns, a slash across the hands to break up a scoring chance. That first face-off is going to be one back to the point, and the theme of 5 7 seconds into the penalty kill, that might continue here because they're going to lose that draw. There's going to be no meaningful face-off wins in this series. It's going to be frustrating as hell. So I'm just preparing you for it.
It's been frustrating for a long
Learn to cheat.
time.
Know the official. Know how they drop that puck.
Yep.
Figure that out.
Well, tie the guy up too.
Learn to cheat.
That's always my thing. Tie the other guy up.
Yep.
Tie the other guy up. Don't win the face-off.
Don't shove the opposition into the ground with your stick when you're trying to win the face-off, Ryan.
Especially their head.
Yeah, probably.
Like it's one thing to sort of like a knee or something. That's cheap, but the skull's you're gonna get caught. Yeah. The last thing too is because when Dean Evason was the coach, we brought this up, and it was fair, but we brought this up continually. So it's only fair to go back to this now, this well with John Hynes. John Hynes has coached quite a while with the Devils and the Predators in the National Hockey League. He has led his team, I should say, to 4 playoff series. His teams are 4-15 and have never won a playoff series, which is something we brought up a ton with Dean, and it was a legit thing, and it proved to still be a problem. Mm-hmm. Bruce Cassidy has won a cup. He has 57 and 51 in playoff games. He lost 4 times in round 1. He coached the Capitals and Bruins before the Golden Knights. He's lost 3 times in round 2, once in the finals, 9 playoff berths. But John Hynes needs to get off the schneid here too himself. Yeah, because that's a talker now.
Sorry, that was rude of me.
No, I kept going. That's fine. No. Don't apologize. Just go. Just truck right through. Hot take. Come on, let's do it.
Fun fact: Vegas finished their season 50-22-10. And the last 2 times the Golden Knights won at least 50 games in the season, they reached the Stanley Cup final. They lost in 2018 and won in 2023. Just tossing that out there. You can find that little information in the playoff program coming up here. But that being said, I agree. I think criticism is fair. First of all, shout out to Dean Evason and what he did with the Columbus Blue Jackets this year too. How they heartbreaking that Montreal had ended their season, even though they won 6 straight to come within 2 of getting in the playoffs. What a story there in Columbus in general. But Dino doing the damn thing. Love to see it. John Hynes, fair criticism, and we all know the criticism of the Wild in general, having never gotten out of that first round since 2015 themselves. There is a different feel about this. And again, maybe it's hopeful optimism that I have going into the series. But you look at what John Hynes was able to even do with this team, which was pretty much the same squad from last year, pretty much the same situation when it came down to injuries. And he was still able to get a lot more out of them to reach the playoffs, to get to this point. So that's where it's kind of like maybe you can toss that monkey off the back. I'm going to maybe put that in. And John Hynes, we've seen, not afraid to double shift Kirill and Boldy, right? Not afraid to make those moves in game, not afraid, which again is something that Dean Evason lacked. I don't know what Hynesy necessarily did in his past lives during the playoffs that led that. Again, I assess the team being a large component of those, but I have optimism that maybe both the Wild and John Hynes come together in unison and say, not this year.
How much can you play Kirill? Like the double shifting at times, especially in Calgary when they play just a stinker. And I get what he was doing, but I'm like, this guy, like he's just not in his game shape yet. And it's going to take a significant amount of time. This guy missed months. So what's your feeling about that? Now, I definitely agree with juggling lines. Like, yes, that's great. If things aren't going well, but like for both of you, how much can you ask of Kaprizov here, realistically?
I had the chance to chat with Kaprizov yesterday, and he was happy and smiling, and it was so nice to see like that return of joy. And he thought he was hilarious, which he was kind of funny. He had some funny little cracks here and there, and he would laugh very Russian hard. It was wonderful. He, we asked how he felt, and he said, no, I feel good. But you could sense that he was trying to be honest with us. Like, he knows he's not 100% too. The thing is, good luck trying to take that man off the ice. He talked about at length, right? Yep. Like how absolutely bored out of his freaking mind. He's like, I could do nothing. He's like, I could come to the rink and just get on the bike, and I could just do this and that. And he was just, the poor kid, you could tell, like, I don't care if I'm at 80% at this point. I am going to be out there. So yes, I think the coaching staff is going to have to be cognizant of it, but they're going to have those conversations with Kirill then too and be like, buddy, we got to still play this thing safe. We still got to make sure. I remember somebody I think had thought the other night, even against Anaheim, that maybe it looked like he re-aggravated something, which he didn't. And I didn't see anything. I don't know if you guys caught anything where he looked a little off, but it's an injury that I fear could be re-aggravated fairly easily. So you do have to be aware of that. But Kirill right now, he's back. He's happy. He does not want to leave the ice ever, which says a lot, right? Which is, again, we love him for, but that'll be kind of the conflict, I think, between staff and player.
Mm-hmm. And I think they probably lean more towards the player side of things too, because at this point, regular season, I hear that argument a lot more, and I probably side with it. But like now you're in the playoffs. If you lose, like he's going to have months to recover from anything. And if there is, and I'm sure they're not thinking about this whatsoever right now, that especially now it's the playoffs, but in terms of like the whole convincing Kirill and stuff like that, that harbors maybe like a little resentment if they're in a position where season's on the line and he wants to be out on the ice, but like, well, no, you said this was nagging you and we're going to limit your minutes here. He sits with that like a whole off season of, these guys didn't want to play me. I'm the franchise. They didn't want to play me when the chips were down. Like, what are we talking about here? They're going to, I think, no, there's no limitations. There's no leash. If he wants on the ice, I bet you they probably play him to an extent. Maybe game 1, game 2, there's probably a little more restrictions. But if they go down 0-2 and they're back home, he's going to want to perform. He's going to want to get back in the series. If he wants to play the final 3 minutes of a game when they're trailing by 1, he's probably playing 2 minutes and 58 seconds of that. And the other 2 is when like they take him off for like 2 seconds and then call timeout to get him fresh legs. And then he's back out on the ice. He's going to play, I think, as much as they want. And I think John Hines probably realizes that because he wants to get a playoff win for the first time. His 4 appearances were the Devils year when Taylor Hall was the Hart Trophy winner. Mm-hmm. Other than that, they didn't really have anybody on the team, but it's very similar in a sense, I think, to that because they had some very good role players and like supporting cast, similar to almost what Kirill does here.
Yep.
But it's in a sense like Taylor Hall was on another level that year, and then the other 3 were Nashville Predators seasons where he actually had one season where like Duchesne and Philip Forsberg just went off, and then I think they got swept in the first round. Otherwise, not a lot of production. I think it was the first year after COVID, so it was a shortened season. He probably wants to get that 0-4 record off his like coaching database page as quickly as possible, and that's going to be playing Kirill Kaprizov as much as possible because he's simply the best player on the ice for that team. And probably when he's on his game, like Judd said earlier, he's not the same 100%, but he's the best player on the ice when he is 100% for this entire series as well. It just matters whether or not he actually is going to take his next step and maybe get back to 100% here.
And I'm not concerned about, I guess I should be, I'm not concerned about the actual, like, aggravating the injury. I'm concerned about, he's a guy that looks now, I don't want to double shift him and take away from his primary shift. Like, just from a tired standpoint. And what people are, so that Ducks thing has been, I think, people probably watched shifts a little bit more. That's been a problem since he came back. His conditioning's not there, and he's not skating like he can. Like that's across the board. I've seen that from day one. The Sharks game in some ways was a great game to come back in because it's the Sharks who are basically a American Hockey League team, Jessi. But the reality is once he played competent teams, watch him skate. He's not skating like he can. And I think I talked to you, but I certainly talked to Age about this too. He's strong as an ox. He ain't strong right now. Like he's getting taken off pucks at center ice. He cannot win along the boards consistently. Like all the things, what makes Kirill so special is he plays like his job is on the line. Like he's phenomenal and he doesn't have that. And I guess what I'm saying is the double shifting to me, are you wearing him down even more? Because you have to be cognizant of the fact that this is not the guy who you can't just say it's Kirill Kaprizov. So I'm not talking about trying to like bench him I'm talking about like what you have to acknowledge this is, and he does too to a certain point. He lost a couple of pucks in the open ice against the Ducks where it's like, that looks like a guy who's on a third line. Like that looks like a true third line guy.
Sure.
So it's going to be, I mean, it's dicey. There's no fault here. It is what it is. I just want to see them get the most from him possible. And I don't know, treating him like you used to, or like you did in November is going to work out the way that they hope.
So him being on the penalty kill for you now is officially off the table.
That is off the table. That is off the table.
Oh,
That is 100%. Well, I mean, we got Ghost. We got the
Yeah,
Ghost there.
second
Ghost
round penalty
Nyquist has been fantastic there. But I also think throwing him out for extra shifts at this point, I don't know that helps him on his primary shifts. I mean, it's a pickle. It's a pickle here, folks.
To your point, I think those have been more noticeable. Those like losing the puck and getting just out muscled.
Oh yeah,
it's come in the second half of games more often than not because he's been used so often early in that game to where when he wants to push back, it's like I just don't have the energy for this. So conserve it, restrict, like maybe limit the minutes to the first 30. But then second half of the second period and all the third, let him go. Let him run wild.
I like it. I like it. All right, so the one thing that we know is it's Zeev time. There's no question about it. Jessi cost $175 because no one would confirm it for her. It's the most unfair thing of all time. The selfishness that exudes from that franchise. Oh my God. All right,
Feel
guys.
free to start a GoFundMe.
You know what? Don't laugh. Some folks might. Jessi Pierce, AJ Judd, we will talk to you soon. Wild Golden Knights first round coming up on Sunday.